I've been asked multiple times about who, what, where, why, how. So I'm going to briefly reminisce about my time as editor-in-chief of the Arab News. Stick around and enjoy. As the days progressed and people were thinking about the war and we were waiting for what's happening, we decided to take out these journalists, sit with them, give them lectures, making them go and meet Saudi families in the eastern province, go to places of interest. So when there was no war story and everybody was waiting for the first bullet to be fired or for the first plane to drop its bomb, we used that time to educate these people. And our staff did very well, in fact. During this time, I came on the Larry King show and other shows, and even those journalists in Arab News, like Wahib Ghurab and others, I would put them on CNN and all, sort of aiding and abetting them in the English, and they did very well. I was so proud of this team, including also our photographer, the resident photographer in the East Province, Mr. Imran Haider. And of course, there was Saeed Haider, who was the bureau chief, who was running up and down, no relation to the other Haider. All these people felt that this was a mission, and they did well. Then, of course, on January the 12th, the talks failed between Tariq Aziz and James Baker, and the bombing started. And we could see the flying planes going every day to Kuwait, round the clock, towards the Iraqi side, and then troops moving in, and we decided to go in with them. So we galvanized, we got 2 jeeps, and whenever we go to an US Army checkpoint, we would talk in Arabic, and they would think that we are part of the Saudi brigade. And when we go to to a Saudi checkpoint, I would talk in English and some others, and we would tell them that we are with this group and that group, and we were able to go into Kuwait. Going into Kuwait, see oil fields burning, black smoke coming in, it was a terrible sight, and a sad sight, because this was an Arab country, hit by another Arab country. All that wealth, all those demolitions that took place, destruction, economic hits, sort of made us sad. We reached the Sheraton, and I was trying to figure out all the war movies I have seen and how it was, and this was exactly like a war movie. Reporters coming in and moving out, pushing to get a room. When we reached the Sheraton Hotel, we found that there were few amenities and no facilities. We were lucky to get a couple of rooms on the 12th floor. No electricity means we have to go up 12 floors. Then we didn't have access to sat phones, so I exchanged some of our food with a reporter from a prestigious American newspaper where we could use her Sky phone, and we were able to call our office in Jeddah and the MAM and give them some reports. There were no computers, nothing, and these kind of help that we got from these people, you see, assisted us in getting us. So we were there. So our readers in Jeddah, Riyadh, elsewhere would see reports live from Kuwait. Then, of course, we heard about the highway of death, and Wahib Ghurab and some others, including Muhammad Samman and Hani Naqshbandi, decided that they would go on the highway of death. I was a bit worried, and I said, don't, because we didn't know about the landmines, we didn't know if the Americans were still bombing, but anyway, they took one of the jeeps and went, and because the people were escaping, I think our jeep had about 100 people on it, and as a result, all the tires became flat, and they left it down there, but they went back again to get it the next day. We entered American forces areas and saw these people going slowly. They were much more concerned about safety, and I think we as reporters throw safety to the wind. Some of our people went into the Iraqi tanks and took out, and it was a sad sight to see this. Somebody had stolen, or the booty was iron boards, iron, juice makers, dolls. it was really pathetic, sad, because the looting of Kuwait by Iraqis, if not have been all across, but there was. So you see, that thing also affected us ethos. We went back again, stayed for a few days until it was cleared, and by that time everything was gung-ho for the Americans. One day, it was the 5th day, and I was sitting near the Corniche, and I saw about 56 or 60 Iraqi soldiers who had given up. And they were being tied. It was a very strange way of tying their hands. The Americans had shoelaces, and then they put both hands and were tying each finger with a shoelace. I don't know why it happened, but this is the first time I saw this kind of thing. We were running out of petrol, and we decided that since we had some petrol, we should move around and see the area, go up to the Iraqi border. And we went down there. We had to camp at night because we couldn't go back because of the mines. And then in the morning, we saw there were about 14 or 15 school buses with Iraqi prisoners of war and only about 25 Marines. So Wahib Ghurab asked that he could go and sit and talk to the Marines. And what a pathetic story. And what pathetic stories, if I may add. Young Iraqis out of college, railroaded into the army. These were not the infamous or notorious Republican Guards that we used to read, where the newspapers and the media would talk about. These were ordinary people. We discovered an Iraqi who was studying law in Chicago. And he had come to visit his aunt a few months ago, and he was put in the army, trained for 2 months, and then sent to Kuwait. So the idea, and they said, we do not come here to kill. We were forced to come by a regime that wanted us to go for their own personal reasons, attack Kuwait. And I'm sure they said this to us as Arabs and as Muslims, not under duress. They could have said that to the Americans. All of them said that we were here by force. We did not come to fight, and many of us didn't even fire a bullet. But then the high command had different ideas. So this myth that the Iraqi soldiers, all of them were full of venom and enmity, I think is wrong. Yes, there were soldiers, there were people who committed atrocities, there were people who killed, there were people who looted, but by and large, the Iraqi army, the conscripts, who were mainly students, farmers, bankers, whoever they were from, were just people like you and me. Looking back at all this can be fun, but dredging up these experiences can be quite tough, even for a man with my experience. So I'm going to continue this in my next video. So please like, share, and subscribe, and leave a comment. Thank you.